Hello. Welcome to the second part of the five, or the second part of the reasons, erroneous reasons why people of other races look down on the black race. So sad. And these are wrong reasons. These are false uh, thinking. These are not true, but still they are held, still they are believed. Now, so the first reason in the second part is that the eagerness, the eagerness of the youth of Africa with very high qualifications to do menial jobs in their countries. That's one of the basic reasons. A friend of mine went to the UK and was actually doing a menial job. And when the supervisor, who was just a form four leaver, realized that he was an undergrad, he was surprised. I mean, suddenly his opinion of his country went down because if somebody of his caliber who served under him. So what did he do? He called his girlfriend to come and see. He's been harassing me to go to school. Come and see that I'm even supervising an undergraduate at my workplace, and actually put him on the phone to confirm to this, Caucasian girlfriend that indeed he was serving under him, even though he was just a form for leaver. What am I saying? We know this happens everywhere. In every society, if a group of people travel there to come and do menial jobs, travel there to come and do the jobs that the indigenous look down upon, those group of people will not be respected. It's just the unfortunate consequence of the fallen human state. So if people constantly see you as doing the menial jobs in their town, the menial jobs in their area, people constantly see you as the one who is doing the sweeping, the scrubbing, and everything. As part of your qualifications. They will see that there must be something terribly wrong with your country, with your race, with your people, for you to bury all those skills to come and just scrub his toilet. And for that reason, many of these people in these developed countries look down upon people of the African continent. So that's another erroneous reason. Indeed, these things are done not because the reasons and erroneous reasons what I'm giving. These things are done not because the people love the job they are doing. They are done because the poverty, because of the imbalance in power between these developed countries and Africa, has made our currencies almost worthless compared to theirs. So the person is only looking at the currency. He's looking at the outcome. He picks one of these currency and it's more than maybe 50 something times, thousand times his currency. So he's looking at it as a short term thing to just maybe go for further education or to actually do some schooling so that he can enter into proper job. Most of these people they don't do these jobs, they do them as a way of entry. They humble themselves for future gains. So it's not because they love to scrub the toilet of other races, no. It's because they do that as students, they do that to get their spouses to join them. They do that, to establish themselves and then move on to proper careers later. So that is the first erroneous reason, the first wrong reason why other races, people of other countries look down on African race. Now, the second one in this part too is that they constantly tell us we are divided. They accuse the African people of being divided, and basically in every culture, the divided group are the ones that get conquered. They are the weaker group. They are the ones that really are petty and quarrel often and the rest. And some people are seen as being less evolved, less developed, less cultured. But this assertion, and sometimes they try to even quote the Bible in this, and then they say the Egyptians shall be against the Egyptians. Unfortunately, I don't know of any group of people who are as divided as people in the developed nations. Somebody in another neighborhood does not even want to be associated with some other neighborhood. People don't mix up. I mean, yeah, these ancestral lineages, there are these family lines and the rest. It's in every culture. It's in every culture. The more a culture, the more a group becomes evolved, they either bring them becomes powerful, they bring the other groups together. And the notion then was that we are divided into splinter groups, but then it has been found that we had empires, we had kingdoms, we preceded the empires and their kingdoms. We had Kush, we had Ethiopia. I mean, we had Egypt, we had all of those Nubia, we had all those kingdoms, Zimbabwe, Songhai, Mali Empire. We had all those Ashanti Empire. So the idea that we could come together and for centuries has completely been demonstrated that we are not a group that cannot be civilized to come together, cooperate for the common cause. So this is also an erroneous impression, and it is only somebody that is ignorant that will actually spew this reason and say that because we are divided. And they bring it all the way to the streets of the Americas where they say that, well, blacks are killing each other on the streets and the rest, and it's because they're petty and they're angry and desperate. No. All of these things come about in any nation, in any group of people, where they are pushed to the fringes to have only a small piece of a resource that's supposed to be meant for everybody. Desperation always sets in. It happens in the Wild Wild West. It happens when the um, Europeans went to the Americas and they had to deal with the Indians. It always happens. When a group of people are moved to have to only contend with something small instead of the big that they are entitled to, it usually degenerates into a conflict situation. And we've seen that demonstrated in South Africa, where 80% of the best land, of the best places, were taken over by, just about, that's, I think 5% of the population. And then the rest were squeezed onto just 20% of the. How can any group of people pray this way and say it's normal? And after pushing them in this manner, depriving them of all the resources, education, and the rest, now these people are blaming these people for being divided, for being violent. You know, somebody is in his land, you come, you take the best of it, and then you take thousands and thousands of acres, and then you put them into shacks and shanty towns. And then once that person is expressing his frustration, we say that that person is less of a human being. That's how come he's behaving that way. When you push a human being to the fringes, you know, that is the fringes. Sorry, that is where the person will get to. So this is another wrong reason that many Caucasians, many people in Europe and the rest give for why they do not respect the Africans. So we have the third reason, and they say that it's because of our tendency to borrow heavily, that we are not generating enough resources, and we're always borrowing. And truly, the Bible has said, and it's true, that you know the lender is master of the borrower, or the borrower is servant to the lender, actually. But this is not a matter of race; it's a matter of principle. Other nations, because of the resources that they took from Africa, but human and natural, whenever they borrow, the wealth of the nations are so much that even as they are printing money, their currencies still hold value. So people want to go there, people want to trade with them. Africa doesn't have the opportunity to print money because when Africa does a little bit of printing, there will be hyperinflation. So Africa's alternative to printing money mostly is to borrow money. Hence the heavy borrowing of African countries. And yet even that one is still not comparable to the borrowing that the places like United States and the rest of them. Some have borrowed over 250% of their GDP. You know, a country borrows and one is even getting to 70% of GDP. We are told that we are treading on dangerous grounds. Others have 150% of GDP. Some have 300% of GDP, and they are seen as prosperous, respectable nations. So to claim that borrowing makes a nation inferior is also not tenable. It's an erroneous reason. So what other reason is left? What other thing is making people look down on us? You know, And one of the critical ones they normally cite, and I remember somebody saying that one of these successful, business mongols, and the comment that some of these bigots could make was that, well, they've used the system that the whites have created to make their money. And such a person will not admit that the Americas and the Europe and all those places were built on the free labor. That world was built on the free labor of Africans. It was Africans' free labor that brought about such that generated that humongous amount of wealth for these nations. And yet he was saying that that black man has created that wealth simply because this a system has been created by Europeans, by whites for him. You know. So the ignorant and this sort of reason only comes about that Africans have achieved nothing over the centuries. It only comes about because of the whitewash history that these people are fed with. And everything they know, the basis of everything. We just didn't even start civilization, but we kickstarted civilization in Europe and all these other places. Indeed, the very major shaper of of European culture and Christianity, people in North Africa, people in Japan, they shaped that doctrine. Tertullian, Athanasius, Augustine. I mean, they shaped that doctrine. That now it is the major change, the major driver of change in terms of intellectualism and the rest. black kingdoms. There was a Christian kingdom in Congo, very early Christian kingdom in Congo. So all of these things are just the erroneous reasons that these slave marauding, you know, killers gave themselves to justify the crimes they were committing against their fellow humans. They had to convince themselves that these were not human beings, which was just cargo. And for that reason, they gave themselves this erroneous reason. And as we have seen, none of them stands scrutiny. None of them is intellectually right, historically right. None of them stands even reasoning or is biblical in any way, shape, or form. So anybody that looks down upon you, you should know as an African, the people of African descent, that one of these reasons is behind them. But basically, it's because they see you hungry on TV. It's because they think your people have achieved nothing. It's because you come to their place, you come to their country to do menial job. It's because they think you are divided into tiny, tiny kingdoms in your land, and it's because they associate your culture with just animist, primitive behavior. Basically that is all that is in their mind. And as you speak to them, you need to find ways of disabusing their minds of this erroneous impression, so that by the time your encounter with such people is over, such people go out full of knowledge, knowing that indeed Africans, as we were once called, are the most beautiful of all people and the most God-fearing of all people. God bless you, even as you help to restore the lost image of people of African descent. God bless you.